You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Call. I'm joined by Brad Hunt here to my left. And today's podcast is with Robbie Kroger from Blood Origins. And it's a great conversation. We got to meet up with him at the Western Hunting Expo this year. And we got into discussions about what Blood Origins is about. Yeah. And some deep discussions, I guess, on, with Robbie, it's always fun because you can have a pretty good intellectual conversation. He had me thinking about how I respond to hunters and anti-hunters. We talked a little bit about the sort of, we talk about all kinds of stuff. Yeah. But I really appreciate the way that Robbie can tell a story for hunting, on hunting's behalf, how well he can defend our position as hunters to the mainstream. He describes the mission of Blood Origins, and if you don't know about it, you need to check it out. They're a nonprofit. Yeah. And you can support them directly through fundraising. You can, which I've been doing for a while.
Yeah, same here.
Just get on there and get a monthly donation going, even at the cost of a cup of coffee or a pizza or something like that a month. You can really help Robbie continue to crush with the work he's doing. And he makes inroads across the board where he makes the case for hunting to the non-hunting community. He's in direct conversations with non-hunters, trying to help them understand why hunting is conservation, why it matters, how it works. And he's relentless. He's relentless. He goes after it. He can be a major influence the stronger his platform becomes, and he is absolutely 100% pro hunting. Yes. We got into some discussions on hunters in general, how we could form our message a little better. We got into discussions on are hunting influencers, quote unquote, good or bad for the hunting industry. Right. And everything, as always, it's anytime someone comes to me and tells me that there's a single cause for everything, that I'm like, no, the world is too nuanced for that. There's all sorts of contributing factors that cause issues in the world today. It's never one problem. Yep. And I like Robbie, the way that he can analyze it from that perspective, and he can see both sides of an argument really well. Yeah. He's a gift. I'm glad he's around. I'm glad he started this. When he wasn't making hardly any money at all doing it, he still did it because this is the sort of thing he wants to do, whether he was paid or not. So I think you're going to enjoy the show. It's been too long since he's been on the podcast. I think one of his first podcasts was mine years and years ago at one of the sheep shows. We talked about that. It's long overdue. I'm glad he was able to come on the show, and I'm excited for the work he's doing. Hope you enjoy the show. If you do, don't forget, leave us a comment, like the show, subscribe to the channel. All that stuff helps us continue to bring content like this to you. If you are in need of a rifle cover or a glassing pad, you need a little better gut health, you can check out Stealthy Nutrition, Stealthy Products over there with Ryan and Hillary Lampers. They're making some great stuff. I like the Immune Probiotic. I like the CBD oil products. I like the CBD sleep gummies. I like the bone broth protein. I like the electrolyte e-charge, all that stuff, solid stuff. And when you use the code GRITTY over there, it helps Brad and I continue to do this sort of stuff. And if you use the code GRITTY over at Sheep Feet, you can get yourself some nice custom orthotics for your tennies or your boots. Yeah. I can't recommend those enough. We talk about them all the time. They'll make a custom orthotic that matches your foot perfectly. Throw those things into your boots, and you'll wonder, you'll say, I should have done this a long time ago. That's what you'll do. I like the single layer foam and the heel stabilizer. Yes, they are a must. Different versions to me. I've tried kind of everything. That's kind of my go-to. I don't like the super cushion as much.
And I'm not a super cushiony guy, but also the other reason I like the single is because I can make that fit in the boots that I already have purchased.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You don't have to kind of go with a size up where with the thicker more cushioned, orthotic, you need to go a little bit bigger, maybe in your current size, or go with thinner socks or something like that. But can't recommend sheep feet enough, so check that out. Use the code GRITTY over there. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Don't forget to leave us a comment. If you have any questions or you want to just chime in, we appreciate that. As always, we'll read them every time. And again, thanks for tuning in. And as always, stay gritty. All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and today I'm joined by Robbie Kroger. And it's been a long time, my friend.
Yeah, since the first one, like literally, the first. I don't remember if it was it 2017 or 2018. I think it was 2018.
2018 sounds right.
2018
Sheep Show.
Sheep Show was the first, it was the first little circuit of shows that I went on. I didn't know what I was doing.
Who introduced us?
Matt Comment.
Oh, that's right.
Matt Comment. Shout out to Matt Comment.
Yes.
I didn't know what I was doing. I had an idea of what I wanted to do. And I guess at the time, if someone had pressed me, if you pressed me now, what do you think you wanted at that time? I was like everyone else. I think I wanted a hunting show. Right? So I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to pitch my stuff.
Yeah.
And I need to try and get these sponsorships.
Right.
That is the world that is hunting.
And for people who don't know Blood Origins, give me a quick background on that real quick so people know kind of who you are.
Yeah, Blood Origins is simply we're a non-profit now, but we are a 501c3. That's all we are interested in doing is changing perceptions around hunting and hunters.
Yes.
And that's all we do. And we build content for the non-hunting majority. We do not build content for hunters. Though our content is consumed by hunters, the reason a hunter would consume our content is to educate themselves, to be able to dialogue with someone who pushes back against them on a specific rhetoric tied to hunting and its impact on people or wildlife anywhere in the world. And also, if they see us the way that we interact with antis every single day, they're like, oh, okay. That's how you get to almost a neutral position versus someone calls you MFer,
which is daily.
I don't call them an MFer back. I get called that every day.
Yeah.
Right? I was actually, I think 2 days ago, I was called a fascist. And
of course.
And I just say, man, I appreciate the comment. I can totally respect you calling me that, but let me explain why we do it.
You do such a good job. Such a good job. And it takes a real love, I think, for the work to do it without making it personal, getting angry, lashing out. You have a tremendous way of being so patient in your response, but also forceful. You don't just roll over. No. You're a fighter.
Yeah, we're a fighter, but we also the way that we engage is I don't care actually about the person I'm engaging.
Okay.
I'm engaging so that the 10,000 people that watching me, like you are watching me, you never know who's watching you.
You don't.
And
I bet you've
those
found
10,000.
out.
Oh no, people they're like, oh, cool response. I was like, holy, you're watching me. Excuse my language.
I love it.
But it's like you are doing it for the people that watch you.
Okay.
So when Leonardo DiCaprio posts about wolves, we're the only people commenting on his post.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, we love wolves just as much as you do, but we think we need to manage them.
Yep.
And you get into a dialogue.
That's a daily... There are so many voices against us.
Oh, yeah.
And, you're not just... you're coming with the receipts, the education, the facts. So let's... Now that we kind of established that, let's go back. 2018.
2018 Sheep Show. I'm peddling my wares. I've come out of ATA. I've got this sort of I've got my elevator pitch down. I come up to the Mountain Ops booth.
You have a couple of videos, by the way.
I have 3 pilots.
Yes.
Yep, that we're peddling, I come up to the Mountain Ops booth, and it was a tiny booth, right? It was maybe the size of the booth we're in now.
Yeah.
All right. And you were there, and I think Jordan Harbison was there. And I introduced myself. I pitched my stuff to you, and you were like, "Hey, you want to come on my podcast?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, absolutely." And I gave you my book. I gave you my grandfather's book because I had that with me because that was part of my story.
Which is 2023,
2018, and I'm like, yeah. And we get into the room. I remember Dallas Haymayer and Jason Price was before me.
That's
from
right.
a podcast perspective. And I stood outside the hotel room like, okay, what do I need to do? Do I need to knock? Do I just like stay here, you know? And you opened the door to like your audience to allow me to talk about Blood Origins then and there. And I'm super grateful and super, humbled that you were like, yeah, you sound like you know what you're talking about, so let me just talk to you.
It was a great conversation, one of my favorites, and I could see it right off the bat. You have the thing that people need to be able to communicate and bring some value to the public right away. And so the question was, how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's been an evolution. You said in the beginning, you're like, well, I think what I need is a hunting show. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, and I wanted a hunting show, again, not of me.
Yep.
I wanted a hunting show showcasing the heart of hunters.
Yep.
Joe Blow hunter that nobody knows to the Jim Shockeys of the world.
To the non-hunter even who has a hunting spouse or something like that.
Correct, like Suzanne, like we filmed. And honestly, we actually said, I think I even told you, I said, I'm not interested in your story.
Yeah,
I don't want to film you. I want to film your wife.
Yeah.
Because to me, that shows, again, the integrity of the message. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to film Brian because Brian's a really famous person.
Right.
So that we can get more exposure around that. It was like, I want to find people that their story and their heart is like a meaningful type story.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where we started.
And that was powerful. You interviewed, I mean, how
70 now.
70?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
70 Blood Origins episodes.
And each one showcases the heart of a hunter.
Correct.
And they all have varying stories,
Correct.
backgrounds, and so on. As someone who has gone around and interviewed people I'm curious about to get into their little mind and kind of take nuggets of wisdom from them, how has that been for you? Like the relationships you've created, which inevitably happens through those kind of intimate conversations, and you're getting into people's hearts.
Yeah,
it's not like we're just talking about how do you call elk. Well, you bugle like this. This is deeper.
No, it's peeling and the thing is, like, we've slowed down a little bit now. We're going to tell deeper stories of people, be a little bit more immersed with them, take a couple of days, 3 or 4 days with that individual and immerse ourselves in their lives.
Yeah.
Before, we used to show up, throw the cameras on, 3 hours later, we were gone. And we were moving on to another story.
Yeah.
And even in those 2 to 3 hours, because of the way we set things up, we can peel the onion layers. And I just have I guess that's maybe my superpower is I have a way to, when I interview someone, I have no set agenda when I arrive. I know where I'm starting. Like, I know I'm going to ask this question. Like Anna V. I knew she hated the whole, like, huntress model and skin model and whatnot. And so I knew what I was going to start with Anna V.
Yeah.
And so the first question I said to Anna V, I said, are you a huntress, Anna V? In the beginning of a Blood Origins episode. And it just, it set her off. Like, she didn't really expect me to ask that question. And it created this opportunity for me. There was a crack that I'd already made. And then what she said back to me, I just opened it more and more and more. And so the interview becomes more of a listening process than rather a set agenda of questions that I want to get through.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And so the people that I get to meet, I'm incredibly grateful for them. I'm incredibly humbled. And really what we've done is we've built a family. And so in our logo, you'll see like this family tree that comes out of the middle of a DNA helix. That family tree is supposed to represent your family, your father to you, to your kids, right? To your grandkids one day.
Yep.
But it's turning into the Blood Origins family. Yeah. And so when we tell someone's story, I call them originators. If I found that guy over there and I was like, man, your story's cool. I'm the originator of his story. So I'm that first dot. Yeah. And then he's the next dot. And then I'll say to him, because integrity is so important to the brand, I'll say, you tell me who's next.
Right.
You go find me the next story.
Now, let's back up a little bit, because you were like, I think I need a hunt show. Not because, let's break that, open up that a little bit, break that down. You weren't like, I need a hunt show so I can have a cush job and make a little money hunting all the time. No, you had a vision for how you wanted to make a difference.
Yep.
From the start,
yep.
And you felt like the hunt show was the vehicle to get that
I didn't know of another vehicle because I didn't live in the world, right?
Yeah.
I'm a scientist. I'm a restoration ecologist that has a background of a family that is storytelling, like the book, like my grandfather. And let me grab that book before you take it away and I again don't see it in 5 years' time. Thank you very much. 2023, folks. 5 years. Did you read it at least?
Let's talk about this a little bit.
Did you read it at least?
I did not.
Oh, gosh,
I have to confess. I told Suzanne, I'm
telling you, dude, this is.
Look
here, 150 when I bought it.
I know.
It's $400 now.
So, backing up, Robbie told me about his grandfather and hunting in
Mozambique,
bush,
Africa. Yeah.
And photographs, stories, and he wrote this book. And you had just gotten this book. It was pretty rare.
I have my book. I have my copy that my grandfather autographed to me, and I just bought this at Dallas Safari Club like 10 days before.
This thing's pristine.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were having a conversation, and you're like, and I was really curious about the book, and you said, take it and read it. And then let's talk about it.
You know what I said about it? You know what I said? I've got a mind like a freaking elephant. When I handed it to you, I said, we'll talk in a year's time. We'll talk about Cape buffalo hunting.
Oh. So that didn't happen. That did not happen. And it's 5 years later, and I'm like, hey, Robbie, I got your book, man.
I was amazed. I was like, holy
I need to get this back to you. I did misplace it for a while because we moved, and everything got in boxes.
Yeah.
And then we got back to the house, and I'm like, it was in the back of my mind, like, I need to figure out where that book went. And then the other day, I was digging around and found it, and I'm like, okay. And so then I was, I want to read it, but now I don't want. I'm too afraid that.
No, I'm not giving it back to you.
So where does the guy get a book like that?
You just look on Amazon.
Can you get it digital?
No.
See,
and I want to. What I understand is Safari Press just got sold.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to reach out to them because the stories in here are limited. It's a limited edition book. So this is copy 962 of 1,000. There's only 1,000 written.
Oh, wow.
Or published. Sorry, not written, published. And so I want to talk to the guys about how do we take these stories specifically in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, there's a picture of my grandfather and Werner von Albensleben with German pig spears spearing a buffalo. Back in 1964.
That seems like a risky.
Oh, yeah, but these guys were like, we've killed so many buffalo, like, what do we do today? This was old school Africa. This is like,
man.
They flew. Here's a picture here. So this is a buffalo calf that they put in a little Cessna, and they flew from northern Mozambique to their camp in the Save to move the cart around the camp.
That's unbelievable. I just got back from Mexico. I was down there with Ryan Lampers, and we went to this remote, wilderness area. It was a Mexican ranch, but it's just desert. Sonora. No one goes there because there's nothing there, really. There's some cattle. That's it.
Yeah.
So we drove 17 miles on, I wouldn't even call it a road.
Mm-hmm.
You needed a machine like a...
How long did it take you? 5 hours?
It took a long time, but the Mexican crew, they did it in what you shouldn't be able to do it in. They navigated that road in a vehicle that didn't belong doing that. And they make it happen. That's all they got.
100%.
And they air down the tires. They got 3 guys hanging off this side of the truck bed as it pops a wheelie so it doesn't tip off this ledge, and they just swing around. You can tell they've navigated this road 100 times.
Yeah.
They know what they need to do and how to drive it. And, we live in an opulent, wealthy nation. And so we look at some things and we go, I grew up with a bunch of, how do I say this? Rednecks. Yeah. Poor folks. We did the same stuff. Volkswagen Bugs with deer mounted on the top, air cooled engine that we replaced 6 times. And, so it doesn't, this stuff, I'm like, sure, we can figure it out.
Yeah.
The redneckery is strong in my family. So when I look at this, it's the same thing in Mexico. When I watch them do their thing, I was like, well, they just make it happen.
Yeah.
They find a way.
Yeah.
Flying a buffalo in a Cessna to a new place to then use it as a beast of burden.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
But that's what, that was old school Africa, right? These guys were living in the bush for 3 weeks at a time. 50-gallon casks, oak casks of white wine. There was opulence to it.
It would be a shame, though, for this to. Well, yeah, I want to read. I want to read it.
Well, you can find it, as I said. If you're lucky, you can find a copy online, but they're like $400 now.
How banged up?
No, they're all brand new. They all look like this because they all keep them. Once you've read it, you'll put it back in the cover like that, and then you'll leave it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, let's go back to Blood Origins, okay? So, there's been an evolution over the years.
Yeah.
Take me through that evolution, what it was to what it is today.
Yeah, so I didn't know what I wanted. I know I had an idea of what I wanted it to look like. I knew what I wanted it to feel like. I knew how I wanted it to be portrayed.
Yep.
I didn't know the distribution vehicle. I just assumed it needed to be a hunting show. Mm-hmm. That's how I just felt, and I had to be, how do I get involved in the industry? So I just, whatever, went to all the shows, chatted to people like you, as many people as I could probably chat to.
Right.
And then I did the typical, hey, Mountain Ops, are you interested in sponsoring us?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
20 other companies, are you interested in sponsoring us?
Right.
Asking for money. And fortuitously, they all said no. Mm-hmm. They said, oh, great idea. And little did I know that there were 1,000 other people like me doing the same thing. 1,000 other hunting shows saying, hey, come sponsor me. I didn't know that, and I was completely naive to that. And so I was like, okay, I'll just keep going, because that's me. That's my tenacity.
Well, and the thing with any business, when you're looking at a capitalistic-driven, you're sitting there and you're going, okay, well, for me, as I work with companies, I can only ask for money when I provide a lot of money to them. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, that's why I try to do almost everything commission-based. Mm-hmm. If I sell, I sell. If I don't, I don't. Mm-hmm. And then I put myself in the vice, and it's like, okay, either I promote this and people buy it, and I sell for this company, like Mountain Ops, mm-hmm. use the code Gritty, mm-hmm. you buy it, and I get paid. If you don't use the code Gritty, I don't get paid. Mm-hmm. And I also don't do exclusive agreements. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I can't be genuine if I say, if I sign something that's exclusive that says you can only talk about Mountain Ops.
Right.
Yet I only use 5 or 6 things from Mountain Ops. Mm-hmm. I'll sell those, mm-hmm. and I'm happy to do it. Mm-hmm. But I don't like these 10 things. Mm-hmm. That's not. Mm-hmm. I don't get it. That's mm-hmm. not my stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, Stealthy Nutrition, I like this and this and this from Stealthy, but I like this and this from Mountain Ops.
Yeah.
I want the freedom to say both.
Yeah.
And both companies, it's your choice. You can either work with me or don't work with me.
Yeah.
But it's under those terms.
Yeah.
Then I can be authentic and say, hey, I truly like these things from Mountain Ops. I really love this stuff from Stealthy. They sell X tens of thousands of dollars a product, and then they give me a commission on that.
Yeah.
And then everybody wins. The consumer gets a discount, I get paid, and they get paid. But the content is the driver. Like, people watch it and they go, I really value this. I also kind of want what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. And so I get to help him keep doing what he does, mm-hmm. and also get the thing I want at a discount. Yeah, and it's like this beautiful capitalistic machine that goes up.
Yep.
With your stuff, the way I see it is it's hard to create a mass entertainment product.
Well, it's not even an entertainment product. It's an education product to an audience that doesn't live in this world, doesn't live in this room.
Right.
So when you think from a market capitalistic ROI
if you're
perspective,
talking to people in high rises in New York City who hate hunting.
Yeah.
And you're trying to communicate an idea to them.
Yeah.
They're not going to sit there and go, let's support this company and go and buy some Mountain Ops, right?
Correct. No, and that's the thing. Like, so for 3.5 years, we were told no. Mm-hmm. And it
doesn't surprise me, by the way, that you were just like, I'm going to keep going anyway.
Yeah, and I got to a point where my wife said to me, I love what you do. I love your passion for this. Yeah. But I need my savings account back because I drained it.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we sold a couple of films to like Pope and Young and Weatherby and whatnot that helped us like break even for that year. And we weren't even, like, I was paying cameramen nothing.
Yeah.
Right? I was just like, come with me, I'll introduce you to the Jim Shockeys, the Jeff Rowleys of the world.
Yep.
I'll just take you everywhere. And so it just got to a point where I was like, what do I need to do? Like, this model is not working for me. And a friend of mine who we filmed, his wife, said to me, why don't you turn yourself into a nonprofit? Mm-hmm. You're doing the work of a nonprofit. And at that time, I'd already started thinking through, like, there was an issue that came up about, I can't remember what it was. Like, our first talking head was, like, about elk, I think. And I was like, somebody needs to say something. I don't hear anyone saying anything. Yeah. And I came up with this idea of, like, a talking head. Mm-hmm. And I said, this is what I want to do. And I showed it to somebody. They're like, you need to publish that tomorrow. I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to publish it. He said, you need to do it. Do it this weekend. And as we did that, it was almost like this revolution of, like...
Explain the talking head.
So what a talking head is today, is this thing that there's an issue. And the elk got us on the map, but the thing that really put us on the map was the tar issue in New Zealand.
Okay. That is when I was, like, sucked right back into Blood Origins.
Yeah.
Was during the tar issue.
Yeah.
And I so greatly appreciated what you were doing. And I'll confess to you, like, this stuff matters to me a lot. And conservation, the future of hunting, standing up against legislation that will take our rights away,
right.
and the blessings that we have today. All that really matters. And I've thrown my hat in the ring, and I've jumped in, and I've thrown the punches and got punched. And Robbie, they got to a point where I'm like, this is a thankless job.
Yeah.
I have got my ass kicked by my own community. 50% of my community hates my guts because of my stance on this. And the other half is like, you're the best person ever. And I'm like, I am so controversial all the time. And everybody, and then I see others like that don't have to deal with the drama and the cancellations.
Yeah.
The companies are like, hey, we're not going to work with you. You're too controversial.
Yeah.
We're dropping you. You're too Gritty being too controversial was a theme for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, it pissed me off. Mm-hmm. It kind of was like, I got a little bit, in personal life got overwhelming too.
Sure.
But I was like, you know what? Screw all of you. I'm out. Mm-hmm. I'm out for a while. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing this. I'm not fighting. Randy Newberg can do it. Robbie can do it. Everyone else can do it that wants to do it. I'm out.
Yeah.
Go to hell, everybody. Go to hell.
Yeah.
And I went through a little period there, Robbie, where I was like, I'm not going to be your champion anymore for speaking on these issues because I'm just tired. Mm-hmm. And I just said, you know, I'm just going to go to this corner.
Yeah.
And I'm going to produce content that I think is meaningful to a group of people. And I'm going to circle the wagons. And I'm going to try to balance out my life with my kids and my wife and other things.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to crusade as much. And I pulled myself out of the political stuff for a while. Mm-hmm. And at the time of the tar thing, I had people saying to me, Brian, say something, do something. This is your job. Why aren't you here? Go into this meeting, talk to these people, write this article. And I was doing some of that and trying to get the word out and trying to help and doing some podcasts and interviewing people from New Zealand about it. And at the same time, I just was like, there's so much being asked and very little in return. And like I said, I kind of hit a wall at one point. But I watched what you were doing, and I'm like, it was like, I just felt like a big sense of gratitude towards you for doing it. And I also was like, okay, I'm gonna move some of this burden up from me over to Robbie.
Yeah, 100%.
And
well, we turned ourselves into a 501c3 that February, so we're in the process, and the tar issue was going to drop like July 1. The Department of Conservation in New Zealand was going to drop their new draft operational plan July 1. And in that interim, we had done some work with some New Zealand people, and we were gaining the trust, and I think that's where we have now excelled. Like, we've gained the trust of people all around the world. We've got this underground mole network that people trust to send information to us. They know we're going to use it correctly. And so June 24th, 6 days before the draft operational plan is going to drop, I had all the information. I had my contacts in New Zealand had told me, this is the issue, this is what's going on, boom, boom, boom. I had all my ducks in a row. And I even had the draft operational plan. Like the thing that they were going to drop July 1, I had it.
Okay.
I had Dallas Safari Club, the monster of all monster organizations in our the titan of the industry, calling me, a random South African living in Mississippi, saying, do you have the draft operational plan? I said, I have it. Why did I have it?
Yeah.
So we put out that talking head, the first one. I was called like Tarmageddon.
You're like Project Veritas.
I guess. We're a little less controversial than Project Veritas.
You're not undergrad interview, but you know what I mean? Like you're getting information because leakers and people who trust you and people who want to make a difference are like, I can get it there, and then
he's going to say the right thing.
Yes.
And so we said something. We stood up against the government of New Zealand. We said, here's the facts. What you're saying makes absolutely no sense. And the video went I think in total it had like 350,000 views in 48 hours. Something stupid, right? It was just like, holy smokes. And it's how our name got on the map in New Zealand, immediately. And then here in the United States. And then we followed it up because it was...
When I saw it, I'm like, all right, let's promote... Robbie did a better job. Let's promote Robbie in that
and
message.
It was and the talking head was me facing the camera directly like we do, not quarter-turned interview, me staring down the barrel of that camera and saying, here's what you need to... Here's the issue. And cut in a way that was just like punch you in the face. And that's what our talking heads are now. Our talking heads are I stand in front of the camera. I have no problem staring at the camera. I don't have a lot of people have this, like, you turn away from the camera kind of thing. I actually struggle. When someone interviews me now and they're like, we're going to do a quarter-turn interview, it's the worst interview for me. Because I'm so used to staring at the camera like that. They're like, no, don't look at the camera. I'm like,
Yeah. I do a little of both because I've talked into the camera being a self-cameraman. I rarely have had the luxury of a cameraman follow me around. I've filmed all my own content myself. So I'm just used to talking right into it and just a lot. So same thing. I rarely just talk with it to the side. Like I look at you that's watching. And I prefer that as a consumer too. I want to see you addressing me. Now, I know from personal experience when I have put my heart and soul out there and exposed myself to ridicule, to anytime you put anything out in a public space, especially one as political as the one you're wading into, be prepared because you are going to get the hate. The smoke is coming. But in the past, I'm like, well, I'm doing it anyway, and I've thrown some Molotov cocktails over the wall, only to be like, man, I should have worded that differently. I totally the blowback was a little bit much because I've at times been like, I'm doing it, I don't care what happens, and then the blowback comes, and you're like, maybe I could have done this better, more tactfully, or changed this. And I know from experience, too, that as I go to publish something and I know it's going to be like that, there's so much. I have to fight this inner part of me that says, don't do it. Just don't do it. Forget it. Move on. And I don't let myself off the hook. Generally, I just say, you made it. You recorded this. This is what you're like. And I just send it over the wall, and then I just suffer the consequences if they come. And I feel like you can't be in this space and make a difference if you're not willing to suffer those consequences. But as you have done it, how have you overcome, I'm sure, the trepidation of, like you said, the first talking head one, and someone saying, you're like, I can't do this. And you're like, do it. Publish it today, now. What was your...
honestly, I think because of... Maybe it's a sort of mishmash of different variables. Number one, I'm not American by accent.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this accent that is a little bit more genteel.
Yeah.
When you hear it, it's not an abrasive kind of
That's true.
interaction.
I didn't even think about
Number
that.
one. Number two.
Immediately when I hear your accent, I think educated scientist.
Yeah.
Or something.
So I have and then I have a PhD.
Yep.
Okay, that helps. Whenever we're doing talking heads, you rarely ever see me pissed off.
No.
I almost sometimes I sort of make you like, this is crazy. Come on.
Yep.
Do you hear me saying what I'm saying? This is crazy, right?
Yep.
Like maybe 2 weeks ago, I got really pissed off, and because I saw an article.
Generally, no. Like
I'm not pissed off,
like
and I also look
incredibly patient.
But I also look at both sides of the coin, right? So if it's a hunting related matter, I'll be like, yeah, like wolves, right? I'll be like, yeah, look, on this hand, I want to see wolves on the landscape.
Yeah.
But the whole shoot, shovel, shut up crowd is not helping us.
Yeah.
So I almost address both sides of the coin in the same sentence.
Yeah, for sure.
So we obviously get bullets sent at us, but we don't get as many bullets as you may think.
What have you learned from anything I can learn from you right now on addressing those delicate subjects? How do you do it with the most forward gain,
right,
and the least degree of backlash?
Number one, honesty. You have to be honest because nobody's honest in social media. So it's almost like a flip in terms of the dialogue in the conversation. When someone goes, "Oh, you guys just love to kill things,"
yeah,
I'll respond saying, "You're right. There are certain people in our hunting community that just hunt because they like to kill things." Not going to say no. You're right. And then you've already diffused their argument. It's done. Then I have the opportunity to say, "But let me tell you about all the benefits." If you go away from the motivation of that individual, I can't deal with it. I can't influence the motivation of an individual. But let me tell you about Peter Ndebele, who lives in a community that just got water because of hunting. Let me tell you about Hashiwe, who has a job for the first time as an anti-poaching scout. Let me tell you about how white-tailed deer populations are at an all-time high because of hunting, and here's why.
Man.
So it's.
I need to be better, Robbie.
Well, the thing is, I'm daily doing this, right? I'm daily interacting. So I know the back. Like if someone says X, I know why already.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about why. And I just this is what Y is, right? So honesty, being respectful. We get so many comments back saying in a Facebook dialogue or an Instagram dialogue, "Wow, I had no idea. Thank you for being respectful." And even now, it's almost like a peer pressure scenario.
Yeah.
So when we put something controversial onto our Instagram, and someone comes in and almost on both sides of the coin, either very liberal mindset comes onto the comment side, or someone on a very conservative mindset comes in, you almost get backlash on both sides to peel them into the middle because that's who we are. And people are starting to learn how to engage in that sort of mindset. Hey, you want to learn more about hunting? Go check Blood Origins out. And lastly, don't ever think about engaging. You're not engaging that individual one-on-one.
Yeah,
I do that before.
I do that well.
You're engaging for the 100,000 people that are about to watch what you just do and what you say.
I have a lot of people who comment back to me or come up to me and talk to me, and they appreciate. I respond to every comment on YouTube that I try to.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I'm like, I just can't respond to all the sources and incoming messages and DMs and everything. I picked a spot. If you leave a comment on my YouTube channel, I'll do my best to read it. Mm-hmm. And if there's a question or a comment there, I'll try my best to respond. Mm-hmm. And I work really hard, spend a lot of hours in that space. That's the one I chose. That's where I'm at. I don't post to social media very often. I'll go weeks and weeks without posting a single thing to social media or opening the app.
Yeah.
I quit a couple years ago. And so I just, for my own happiness and for my own...
for sure.
I found that long-form content, like a podcast, in a film. Those can be meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Those take me hours. A film can take me 40 to 80 hours to make for a 25-minute show.
Yeah.
That took a lot of my heart and soul to put it together. I try to teach people about the place, caring for animals, taking care of meat, the benefits of it, the species, the nature, the conservation aspects, like all incorporated into the film. And I put it out there. If you engage with me on that YouTube platform, then I respond there.
Yeah.
And I get comments when you said just now, look, I'm going to, all hunters just like to kill things.
Mm-hmm.
My initial reaction is to say, no, they don't. That's not true.
Some do.
Hunters have this, and this. But you're right.
Some do.
Some do.
And it's like you just got to, let's just address it for what it is, right?
I try not to be defensive and give the devil his due.
Yeah.
But you're right. When you said that, I'm like, well, it's true.
Trophy hunters, people just go to Africa to hunt for trophies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty
They
much.
do.
Pretty much. They're not going there for conservation. They're not. Let's be honest. But the result of the action is conservation.
Yeah.
The result of the action is sustainable wildlife populations. The result of the action here in America is people are gainfully employed by the hundreds of thousands.
I love that. I actually should be very brutally honest about that instead of as defensive. I am fairly honest. I do acknowledge those faults that are in our own community. But just hearing you mention that specific example, I realized, I'm kind of guilty of only going so far. I could do better there.
Mm-hmm.
The other place, though, is people always say, Brian, why did you didn't need to respond to that guy. He's a D-bag. He's a hater. It doesn't matter. Or this person's an anti-hunter. Why did you write like a whole long thing in response?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you always respond, don't bother with these people. It's like, but you don't understand. I did that, and 300 people read the comment.
100%.
I didn't write it for him.
Yeah.
I wrote it for everyone who comes along, reads his comment, and goes, oh, he's got a great point. But wait.
Yep.
Oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
And you can see it because all the comments that follow, which are, I really appreciated this interaction.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a lot of people who just say, don't bother.
Mm-hmm.
And but I do not because of that individual. I probably won't sway their mind.
100%.
But it's for all those other people that are going to see it that it does matter to them.
Yeah, it's changing hearts and minds. It's showing a side of hunters, again, that's changing narrative, that we're not just bloodthirsty killers, that we don't care, that we're actually quite respectful in how we engage people. It's an education source so that they potentially can use some of the information the next time someone comments somewhere else.
Yeah.
They feel empowered, they feel emboldened and confident to then comment themselves.
I also have a streak in me, okay, that it comes from my own mother, I think, of scolding. Like, I just feel like if you have done something that deserves shame and mockery, I should shame and mock you. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like my mom, it was good for me to hear a few things as I grew up.
Yeah.
So sometimes people will write something, and I'm brutal. I am brutal in the response. And I feel like their comment, like you said, you don't respond in kind. I almost have a rule with certain comments that I do respond in kind. If you talk to me this way, then I talk to you back at about the same level of, I don't throw insults because it's a waste of time, but I hit with facts and I'm, and mockery. Let's take an issue outside of hunting, for example. That's really controversial. If you're going to tell me that a man can be a woman, I'm going to mock the whole idea of it because it's ridiculous. I don't think the proper response in that situation is an intellectual dialogue. It doesn't deserve that kind of response. It deserves mockery because it's absurd.
In that regard, yes. But I don't deal in that world. And so to me addressing a mocking type statement, and we get lots of them all the time, almost denigrates the conversation immediately. I know that's not going anywhere. I know it.
Not with that person.
Now, I'll do a first comment that is intellectual.
Okay.
And if they come back with stupidity, you'll know this is how, as mocking as I get.
Yeah.
I'll start the comment with LOL.
Okay.
I'm like, come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on. Listen to yourself. Are you really listening to yourself here?
I should incorporate a little more genteel approach. And I have, by the way, because I've had Lampers there. And Lampers just doesn't go there.
Yeah, he's not that person. He's not that person.
No, he just steps aside and puts that wall up and just moves on. But I definitely have improved in that. I've gone through the years where people have said to me, Brian, I admire your patience with people. You take the time to bring facts and to share ideas and to be very polite when they were not polite to you. But I do get to a point sometimes where I've had enough. And I hit back pretty hard. And I would say this, how we said earlier, you're not going to change that person's mind.
No.
Now, I'll say that I would argue that about 50% of the people I engage with change their mind. 50%. I put a video up, gets 1 million views on some reel. This moose gets taken down. Mm-hmm. You see this giant moose. Mm-hmm. People hate. Mm-hmm. And I respond. Half of them come back and said, I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah.
I see. I respect how you're doing it.
Yeah.
I just assumed you were trophy hunting.
Correct.
You shot that moose for the rack.
Correct,
I just assumed this. And I have links out to videos where we have the meat processed at home and where we're eating it here and where we've done that. And they're like,
Perfect.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm kind of interested in what you're doing.
100%.
And I always have to explain, yes, we went there for an adventure. Yes, we went there for a set of horns. Yes, we went there because we'd never done this before. But we also, it's not mutually exclusive.
It's all tied together.
It's all tied together. We went there for the meat too. We went there to connect with nature. We went there to challenge our bodies and minds physically. We went there to connect with our DNA and what we're made of as human beings. Mm-hmm. I always tell people, back to that Shane Mahoney quote, like, hunting is man's oldest try at life. Mm-hmm. Without hunting, we wouldn't be here today, and we're all here because our ancestors hunted. It's who we are. It's what we are as human beings. And in order to feel what it is to be human, there's something that happens that turns on in my wellness and my body and my spirit when I do this pursuit.
Yep.
And so I do it. Is it mixed up with ego? Is it mixed up with competition and trying to beat someone else? And is it mixed in there a little bit with selfishness? And yeah, it is. But overall, those are all the demons I'm trying to push aside, mm-hmm. and all the motives for why I do it, I'm trying to clean up. Mm-hmm. So I have those conversations with people online on the regular, and I have those conversations because it matters to me and I care. But when I do all that, it's also, like you said, so that other people that come along see it and go, oh. And it's remarkable how many hunters are like, I really appreciate that you do this, Brian.
100%.
I'm glad you do this because I don't have the stage. I don't have maybe the drive, the skill to do it, but it matters to me that you do it. So, hey, I'm going to go buy a Gritty shirt. Mm-hmm. And that law of reciprocation, I think, is really strong in my community. They just are like, they see that and they're like, I want to help these guys keep doing their stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
And the same thing happened to me when I watched you and I saw your Talking Head videos and I'd see these things come out on a weekly. And I'd see the issue being addressed and I'm like, this is such an important job to be done. Mm-hmm. You're picking it up. You're doing it. And I was like, I need to support this.
Yeah, 100%.
So how did it grow from when you went nonprofit?
Yeah, I think the Talking Head was the spur of, like, how did it almost like just the pipeline opened to, like, what things are we missing? What things are the hunting community not showcasing, not saying, not doing.
Yeah.
And that was 99% of everything. We just focus on the 1%, which is the action. Everyone's forgotten about the 99% of the benefits and the consequences of the action.
Yeah.
So now I've got this essentially a smorgasbord in front of me to say, well, what do I want to showcase?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much to showcase.
Yeah.
There's so much success. There's so much consequence. There's so much benefit. So now we've got videos. We've got our talking heads. We've got these things called proof videos. So internally to Blood Origins, one of the most famous sayings in the hunting industry is hunting is conservation.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably said it a lot. Internal to Blood Origins, we say, well, prove it. Those are just words. Prove it. So we go into different states and we go into different state agencies and we say, well, hey, can we highlight an acquisition that you just made into a wildlife management area that campers and hikers and bikers are using? And oh, by the way, that was funded by hunters and shooters. Did you know that? Here's the proof of what hunting is doing and shooting is doing for wildlife conservation, for habitat restoration. Think of every single state has probably dozens of success stories related to hunting that nobody knows about. Okay? Proof. Then it's now, all right, well, how can we tell more deeper documentaries? We went from telling stories of hunters' hearts. Well, what's the heart of hunting? The heart of hunting is somebody fourth generation in South Africa that is now deeply embedded in a property that regularly hunts, but hunts 260 animals, but is saving 5,000. That's a success untold. Oh, a school in South Africa is being completely funded by hunters. Oh, a soccer field got built in South Africa because of hunters.
Yep.
A rural hostel of kids that have nothing are fed because of hunters.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of documentaries. Then it's like, all right, well, that's the next level. Well, what's the next level above that? Well, why don't we get into the big documentary space? Like what we're going to do with Lionheart. Like, what is the most vilified practice in the hunting industry? Chasing predators with dogs. I don't think there's anything more vilified. Elephant hunting maybe up there.
And rightly so, to a degree, because chasing down another animal with dogs, for example, a pack of dogs, is talk about as primal as it gets.
Primal, it plays into ethics. Even hunters don't get it. Hunters don't like it. There's an element of fair chase. There's an element of, all sorts of things.
Often the pushback that I get today is, look, it's a brutal way to hunt, even though essentially that's what a wolf pack does. Mm-hmm. And it seems to be, well, that's okay. Free pass. Mm-hmm. And rightly so, in a sense, because human beings do have a moral conscience. Mm-hmm. They do have an intellect. They do have something different where they can make an assessment on whether something's right or wrong. And we all do, even if we pretend that, it's like that's a different subject. Anyway, when you pursue an animal with a pack of dogs, if you could take yourself back in time 300 years, without those dogs, you don't have modern weapons in the sense we do today. Those dogs are how you survive. Without those dogs working for you, hunters don't get a lot of the critters that they get to sustain themselves or to trap or to feed. So I see a trapping as well. Like it has that brutal element to it in a way.
Yeah, but people don't understand actually. Yes, there is a quote-unquote brutal element, but when you dig into it, like specifically trapping, nobody knows about all the best management practices that are tied to trapping, that are there to ensure the health of the animal that is trapped.
I don't disagree, but you're going to run into that element of people that say, hey, we have transcended that space. We don't need to do that anymore. We have cattle here and animals there, and so, hey, we don't need to do this brutal form of hunting. Yeah. It was justifiable 200 years ago. It's not now. I get the same thing with just animals at all. They say, how could you kill that beautiful moose? Just go to the damn store, asshole, 100%. And eat a chicken. Like, eat the cow, as if those animals didn't suffer or die somehow either.
Correct.
As if it was somehow exempt from. And so, I have to engage in that conversation all the time. One of those quotes that Joe Rogan gave years ago, I tell people often, look, you kill every day. Every day you go to the grocery store, you kill animals. Every day when you go out to lunch, you kill animals. The difference between you and me is you hired a supermarket hitman to do the job, and I do it myself.
Yeah.
But we both are guilty of killing to live.
Yep.
I try to let an animal live the most wild life it can, and then quickly and humanely dispatch it and consume it. And I feel like those conversations go well. They go really well. But when I get into the hounds, when I get into the trapping, that's another layer that gets even harder to explain. Talk to me a little bit about the trapping, because, like you said, like for certain species, like a wolf, management-wise, you're not going to touch it with a hunting season.
No.
How do you? So what's your argument when you're dealing with someone saying, let's take wolves for example, as that's probably the videos that I get the most hate on is when we kill a wolf.
Yeah, 100%.
People say
you haven't killed feral horses yet, so that'll be the next one. that'll overtop wolves.
Really?
Oh man.
Oh, it's so funny because I just see a horse as an elk.
Yeah, well,
I see a horse.
Don't
as
video
a
it. Just forget it. Turn the cameras off.
I've been wanting to go to Australia and hunt donkeys for a long time.
I've shot a donkey.
Yeah, I think it's great. Well, I was in Japan for 2 years, and we ate horse all the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
Horse was just normal.
Yeah. Plus, how many freaking...
Which I'll tell you, I truly value Asian culture in the sense that they do not have the sentimental feelings toward wildlife that the Western society does.
Yeah.
It's kind of refreshing. It's protein.
Oh, we got, how many people in this country are hungry? And you've got so much resource in horses specifically. Anyway, trapping. Wolves, sorry.
Yeah, wolves. Get back to wolves, okay? They come at you and they say, how could you do this? It's a beautiful animal. Don't kill wolves. You're a piece of crap. What's the Blood Origins response? What's the Robbie Kroger?
Well, number one, I love wolves just as much as you do. I want to see wolves on the landscape. I want to interact with wolves. I want to sit in the high plains and I want to hear them howl. I want to have my hair stand up. I want to get goosebumps because of that. Because essentially, when you look at...
and that's an honest place.
Honest place. David Guarman wrote a book called Monster of God, and how he talks about alpha predators in this world and how humans are sort of tangentially, whether it's on a plane because we're all alpha predators, or there's just this inherent DNA component as well as a competitiveness between predators, that there's this inherent connection between alpha predators and humans. And so when you think about a wolf, that's why you almost have this diatribe of people that exist in the human community. You have one that associate themselves with them, love them, cuddle them, whatnot. Then you have another sector which sees them as the competition, that sees them as that alpha predator that we are. It's a phenomenal book. You need to read it.
What's
David
it called?
Guarman, Quammen, called Monster of God. It's got a big tiger on the front of it. Talks about brown bears in the Carpathian Mountains in Romania. Talks about saltwater crocodiles in Sri Lanka and Australia. Talks about Siberian tigers. And talks about, I think it talks about polar bears and wolves a little bit. But it's a phenomenal book. And so when people talk about wolves with me, I was like, to me, I'm an alpha predator. They're an alpha predator. To me, I don't see them any differently when I look at it from a biological and ecosystem perspective, in that they need to be managed.
Yeah.
If we just, they're like, the rhetoric back to that piece would be, well, we don't need to manage nature. Mother Nature will take care of herself. I said, yes, that's true in certain parts of this country. In certain parts of the world, yes. But there's a human fingerprint, an anthropomorphic fingerprint on every ecosystem in this world. It just depends on the gradient of pressure of that fingerprint. In the West, where you've got roads and you've got corridors bisected and you've got human influence at every turn, you have to do more from a management perspective than if it was a completely isolated wilderness area that nobody ever goes into, that there's not been a touch. Yes, Mother Nature's a boom and bust type cycle, But she's even worse when humans have been influencing the landscape for multiple decades.
Yeah.
So from a wolf management perspective, we need to manage them. And we need to manage them in a way that we have all the tools available to ensure that we are appropriately balancing the appropriate values that are being put on the animals on the landscape.
Yep.
And so if trapping is one of those mechanisms and tools to be able to do it, we want to do it in a way that is as ethical and as humane as we possibly can. And that's why all the trapping pieces that we use are full of best management practices. They're all full of triple swivels. They're all got rubber guards.
Yeah.
If you want to go Google how humane a foothold trap is, watch guys putting their hands in foothold traps. They're not breaking their arms. They're not breaking their hands. They're not damaging skin. Same thing's going to happen with a paw of an animal.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because we care. Otherwise, we wouldn't. We wouldn't have the triple swivels. We wouldn't have the rubber guards. We wouldn't have the offset jaws. Wouldn't have all of that.
Yep.
Why did we do that? We didn't do it because we got pressure from the anti-hunting establishment. We did that because there was ethics involved in being humane. People will lay trap lines. Mm-hmm. Why do we have time allotments on trap lines?
Right.
Because we want to be sure that we're not doing any undue harm or pain to that animal. 24 hours. When someone says, I can't check my traps for 36 hours, I'm like, why not? Shorten your trap line.
Yeah.
Be able to get there in a day.
Yeah. It's so nuanced, right? Like there's so many. It takes a while to explain. That word,
nuance. Society is unfortunately not a big fan of nuance.
No, because it's so easy to sell the rage, the rage piece. Stop killing wolves, and it's so hard to explain the complexity of the issue.
Yep,
I like that. How can people support Blood Origins if they want to support what you do, and how has that been for you? Like,
sure.
It seems that there's been a bit of a changing to the nonprofit model.
Yeah.
Has been
good for us because we don't belong to anyone. And so we ask people that like what we do, like you support us. You give us money every month. Mm-hmm. And you see, and I think what I love about Blood Origins is because we're so small, super nimble, no bureaucracy, you actually see what we do.
Yeah.
Every single day. You see it in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
You see what your money is doing, what your money is supporting. And so people can support us by giving the cost of a cup of coffee a month.
Yeah.
$3 a month, $4 a month. Some people give us $50 a month. Some people give us $100 a month. Mm. We would, do it because you want to support us. But if you're not really into that and you want to win a bunch of free stuff, we give away free stuff every month.
That's a good incentive too.
Yeah, it's a good incentive. And someone just won. Doug Olivier won the Western Flights Kansas bird hunt, $4,000. Him and 2 buddies are going to go bird hunting in Kansas, and he probably gives us $5 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have a conservation club on the other side, which is almost the same as the supporters program, but for industry partners.
Yep.
For companies, for outfitters to say, okay, we love what you do, and here's where it's sort of going back to the original like ROI marketing component. My brand today, our brand, Blood Origins, is actually quite valuable because people know what we do.
Right.
And so when a company goes, oh, I want to tie my name to your brand, there's value there.
Yeah.
Like Bergara. We just had a big partnership announcement with Bergara.
Yep. Okay.
Dozens of people said, I love my Bergara rifle. I love it even more now.
Yeah. Because what comes with Blood Origins is a degree of integrity.
Correct.
Right? Honesty, like you were just describing. And again, you're supporting a soldier who's out there fighting for what matters to all of us as hunters.
Yeah. And it's a different model. People are starting to see it. Like if Mountain Ops said, we're going to get behind you, we're going to donate, we're going to support you, I don't use Mountain Ops.
Yeah.
And they're not forcing me to.
Yeah.
And if they did, I'll be like, thanks, but no thanks.
Right. But they can support this cause because they care about the message.
100%.
Not because they're trying to promote
sell a tub of protein.
Yep.
Because that's not me.
Right.
That's not what we do.
Yeah.
It's different. We've almost broken out of that mold.
Yeah.
But it's taken a load of time to break out of that mold.
Yeah. Well, you had to provide value.
Right.
On some level, you had to provide enough value to garner the support.
Correct.
And
that takes time.
That takes time.
Yep.
And hard work.
Yep.
I mean, kudos to you. Question. Okay. Here's another controversial topic for Robbie to tackle. So in the hunting space, right, you have individuals who, and I deal with this a lot because I'm out there saying, hey, this is how we do it. And this is where we go in. And this is the gear we use. We enable people, we empower people to go on a 10-day expedition hunt to Alaska.
Okay.
We give you the instructions, the know-how, the fitness information, what it takes, how much weight you need to be able to carry, how many miles, and so on. How to break down the animal, how to get that's what we do is we teach people. I have 3 goals: entertainment, inspiration, and education.
Okay.
So when I put out content, I want you to learn things you never knew before.
Okay.
Which empowers you. I want you to now be inspired to actually get off the couch and go do it too.
Okay.
And I want you to laugh or get excited or just be entertained.
Yeah.
Because without the entertainment spot, the education isn't as powerful.
Okay.
The inspiration isn't as inspiring.
Right?
Yeah. It's like we all sat there with a teacher who was really knowledgeable, and we were bored out of our mind.
Right.
Then we had that teacher that just lit us up, and we soaked up the information. So to me, I believe that entertainment is really important to maximize a message about education.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And as I promote it, and I'm like, do this, there's a lot of people who hate me because I ruined hunting.
Yeah.
I ruined it. I made it more popular. I can't get a tag in this state. I used to before you started hunting here and filming things and stuff like that. You've dove into this subject a little bit. I have my opinions on that. I don't really engage in the drama when it comes to that too much. I've been like, look, I think what I do is super important, super valuable. It's my passion. I feel like what I do changes people's lives. I know it does. They tell me every day. They come up and they say hi. They thank me for different things. But I have a whole ton of people who, will write, 20-page comments about me on a forum about what a piece of crap I am because I've ruined hunting. Where's the balance?
So I think that, again, we'll face the honesty a little bit. I think if you rewind the clock 20 years, the availability of information then was 1% of what it is today.
Yeah.
Okay. There was no internet. There was no social media. There were probably people like you 20 years ago figuring out the public land system and coming back to their home states and doing little PowerPoint presentations for the Rotary clubs.
Yes.
Okay. But you never heard about them because there was no distribution mechanism by which that message or that education could get amplified. I think certainly that people that, like you, like others, that are now pushing that message into the social media sphere, into the digital media sphere, have inspired people to go hunt more.
Oh, yeah.
And does that result in more people on the mountain in more areas? Absolutely.
Yep.
Is that a bad thing or a good thing? Is almost the crux of the question here. I think it's both, right? We have a finite resource that now is getting more pressure. So then the wildlife agencies are going to be like, okay, I'm going to have to scale back access. I'm going to have to scale back tags to make sure that the wildlife resources is there. We've also got a demographic in our hunting industry that now is in, I would say, like the late 20s to 45-year-old age group that now has a lot of resources that they can go and hunt more. And so that's what you're seeing also pressured into the western states. I think that you've also got hunt application systems, hunt application services that make it a lot easier for someone to apply for all these things. But that also generates a lot more money for the coffers of the respective game and wildlife agencies. So there's always counters back and forth to the good and the bad associated with what essentially you're doing.
Yep.
And again, I think there's honesty to be had in that sort of scenario. Like, yeah, I may be contributing to more people being in this space, but it means you just have to be more wily of a hunter. You actually need to become a better hunter, isn't that the whole point of being a hunter? It's almost, let's rewind 10,000 years. We're in a tribe. You go hunting there. I go hunting there. You come back with a deer. I didn't. You got the favor of the woman around the campfire and now are in a better, an echelon of leadership in the tribe. I'm like, what do you think I'm going to do the next day? I'm not going back to my spot. I'm going to where you were.
Yeah.
So I think that the thing that is happening has happened throughout time. It's just amplified now because of the digital media sphere that we live in. And the repercussion of that is a very visible pressure on the landscape that the game agencies, fish and wildlife agencies, have to work through. They have to work through it that we have a finite resource, we have finite public lands that will get constrained in terms of access, will be constrained because of the tag numbers. But then it also forces you to say, well, if I can't get in there, maybe I should go over there. Or maybe I should work my arse off a little bit more and go about another 5 miles where nobody actually knows. Or find that new spot that nobody knows about.
You laid it out.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I look at it from the perspective of I will concede everything you said. It's 100% true. My response to that too is, okay, it's worse to get a tag now. 10 years ago, I could go and buy 2 elk tags in Idaho. I could just pop on down to Arizona and get one over the counter every time. There was no quotas. There was no limitations. Fast forward 10 years, I can't even. Where can I even get a tag?
Yeah.
If I'm not a resident of that state, it's getting harder and harder.
Yep.
I 100% concede that absolutely is the case. Hunting has become more and more valued, more and more popular, especially out west. You have more and more people who want to do it. Demand is higher than ever. And the supply is what the supply is.
Correct.
In some ways, I think as it's become more valuable, the states are doing everything they can to maximize the wildlife.
Correct.
In order to also maximize.
Yeah, it's their job.
Meet the demand that's out there.
Yep.
My response is, it's not going away. You're not going to get all these people to stop hunting and sharing it on Instagram. You can point a finger at me and you can say, yeah, Gritty ruined it. But also, everyone is a promoter now.
No. I don't think, and so that would be an unfair statement, like pointing the finger at one person and say you're the cause, right? But if you look at a pie chart and you split that pie chart by 360 degrees,
yes,
you may be one of the slices of that 360.
Absolutely. And but what I'm driving at is this: I'm a slice.
Yeah.
But so is 20,000 hunters in Wyoming this year that did an IG story about their hunt.
Oh, yeah.
And so are the 50,000 people in Washington.
Hundreds.
No. You're talking about technology. My point is this: technology ain't going away.
No.
It's not going anywhere.
No.
So all the bitching about how technology has brought us to this space is pointless. It doesn't serve a purpose. It's here to stay. So if you're a human being and you want to be more successful in life, bitching about the progression of technology in the world, because it ain't the same now as it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago. It's marching forward. The only way to approach that in life is to say, adapt, improvise.
It's almost like hunting now today. is probably more. It's probably closer to what hunting should be, i.e., because of the pressure, because of the less tags on the landscape, you have to work harder.
Yeah.
It's not easy to hunt anymore, which is almost antithetical to the whole definition of hunting, okay?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then two, that you're going to do this expedition wherever you go, and you're going to fail. Mm-hmm. Again, hunting, by definition, has failure built into it.
And look, I lament the past. Like, I lament the way things used to be. I like the world before Facebook. That's me. I liked the 90s. I liked it when I didn't have a smartphone. Mm-hmm. I liked it better. Mm-hmm. I liked a lot of things better before. But they're not going to go away.
Yeah.
That's the new reality. And so I think a lot of people do get hung up on the way it was, and they can't move on.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame because the goal is, in life, you said competition. That's it. You're either someone who embraces competition throughout life or someone who complains about competition and quits. Mm-hmm. And I just feel that the way competition is, like, if you can say, yeah, it's super competitive, but I'm going to do my best to just try to adapt and overcome every time. Now I can't get a tag here. I'm going to have to try to find one here. I can't do this. I'm going to try this. You get more inventive. You
Correct.
Find ways.
Yeah.
And that's the proper approach, because to me, you're not going to reverse where technology has brought us. And it's the same across the board. You know, I wish my kids grew up in a society that had less tech like the one I grew up in. It's actually, I think, really destructive the way TikTok has done things to kids and young people and society in general. We're all like little apes trying to figure out how this whole thing works. And we like our toys, but they're also destructive. We like our comforts, but those are destructive. We need to suffer. We need to go through pain. We need to think. We need hard things to be fulfilled. But that's all counter to the way life really is in our modern world. So I look at it and I think, like you said, give the devil his due. It is true. It is harder. It is more difficult. At the same time, it's the new norm. I'm not saying
it's not changing tomorrow. If you had to quit, and Elk Shape had to quit, and let's call all the big influencers had to quit, it's not going to change. There's still tens of thousands of hunters on Instagram.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to roll forward. Now, can we do a better job as I just say a hunter, in how we present what we do to the public?
Do you present your failures?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that presenting that to the public and sharing that with the public is so useful, so valuable, but at the same time, like, can we do better? Yeah, we can do better with the way we show the brutality of what we do. Like, we don't have to show all of that, like reel it in a little bit, realizing that some people, that if you're going to put it on a public space, aren't quite ready for it. Highlight that you consume the meat. Make 100%. That a big part of the show. Things like, this is a big one. Don't tell people what state you're in. If you're Dan Staten or you're Brian Call or you're Randy Newberg, just don't tell people what state you're hunting in. Don't tell people what unit you're in. Don't tell people anything about where. Just take them on a moose hunt.
Yeah.
That's what you did. The whole point is,
makes sense.
Don't tell them all those details, because I think that right there is wrong. If I pop into a unit and 200,000 people watch a video and I say it was unit XYZ, it's done.
Yeah.
No one who hunted there traditionally with their father.
Thinking through that and knowing that should be addressing that hate.
We don't even show. We show 0 mountain peaks, no recognizable features, no trailhead signs, nothing. That's been 3 years for us. We don't show any of that. You don't know where we're at. And then we put in like peaks and footage from national parks where we weren't hunting. It's just B-roll. So just to misdirect.
Yeah.
And because my point, and people have learned not to ask us where it is. Now when people say, where are they hunting? 20 fans go, they're never going to tell you. I don't have to respond anymore. And I think if we all did that, it would show a lot more respect to those people who are a little frustrated, and rightly so, that some influencer with 100%. A reach has come in and crapped on their hunting area.
And that is you taking the hate, stepping back, being self-critical, analyzing, saying, is there something here that I'm missing? Not just completely like, screw you guys, you're just haters.
Yeah.
But rather like, okay, let me self-evaluate. Is there something here that I should be doing differently? All right. We shouldn't be telling everybody where we hunt.
Yeah.
Let's change that.
It must seem a little bit petty to you in the sense that goes on, given the grand scale of your job, to try to keep hunting from being eradicated
so
completely.
Here's what it's.
You know what I mean?
We deal with, obviously, we deal with the same sort of, the most negativity you would think comes from the anti-hunting establishment that we are pushing message against.
Yeah.
Rarely. Right? It's the hunters that hate elephant hunting. And I'm like, it's no different than you hunting a whitetail. Like, what's the difference here, right?
Yeah.
But no, at the end of the day, I always like, is there something I could have said better? Like, did I misinterpret something? Did I need to critically analyze myself to say, hey, did you say something or can we change things the way that we say it to understand, like hunters can understand it better?
Yeah.
Because we know that the non-hunting, we're trying to be more non-hunting focused, but hunters are taking things from what we say.
Yeah.
But inherently, here's the crux of the matter again. Like I've got so many, like, I know where it ends, and this is where it ends, is that I believe that hunting is so inherent to our DNA and is so tribalistic to that point of me and you 10,000 years ago coming back to the fire. You brought a deer, I didn't. What do you think that person that didn't is doing? He's jealous of you. He's competitive. He's like fired up. He just didn't have Instagram to vent his frustrations through.
Yeah.
What he did the next day is he went out and hunted.
Yeah.
So to me, the reason why we have such infighting in hunting, bow hunters against rifle hunters, long-range hunters against muzzle loaders, all of the nonsense, is because inherently hunters are competitive. It's competitive.
Yeah.
Because it's an individualistic activity that you're putting your wits against the animal that back 10,000 years was tied to a tribe, which is now the social media tribe of hunting that you are, quote unquote, trying to impress.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. There's no question that there's the status.
And it's not new.
Clout chasing.
It is not new.
Yeah, exactly. It's
buried in our DNA.
Yeah. It's ugly. It's kind of ugly.
It's ugly now because there's the forums.
Yeah.
25 years ago, it was ugly.
Yeah. Look, and I do think that, again, go back to motivation, human motivation. We have motivations for various things, but the goal for me is to try to do a daily roll call. Why do I do what I do? And then try to clean up my reasons to be the most meaningful, the most valuable. Instead of doing it for a really shallow reason, I'm trying to and that means checking my ego, checking my emotions, checking my drive every time I do it, because it's very easy, I think, to become and especially with the tools we have today, to become self-absorbed, narcissistic, shallow, and do things for all the wrong reasons. And two people can do the same thing, and the fault is in the motive.
All right.
If you're out there hunting because you want two people kill a deer. One did it because they just wanted to see an animal suffer. One did it because they wanted food for their family and was remorseful that they even needed to do it.
Yeah.
Same activity,
sure.
Different motives. As a human being, I think it's inherently what it means to be human is just try to live that moral life, try to live for those right motives.
Correct.
Which then also dictates inevitably kind of your outward actions in a way. And that's the challenge. pick up that cross, adopt that responsibility, and try to be the best.
Yeah.
So, folks, here we go. Another good conversation with Robbie Kroger from Blood Origins. Thank you for coming on, my friend.
No, man, appreciate it.
Folks, go check out Robbie's stuff. You can go to Blood Origins on Instagram.
Yeah, just Google us. We'll come up.
And, dude, give the man a little bit of cashola. A cup of coffee, at least. A little more if you can.
Yeah.
Because what Robbie does is vitally important, I believe, to all of what we do. It's a fight that I'm glad he's fighting, and I feel that I should do more of, but at the same time, I'm glad you're out there, and I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, man. Much appreciate your support.
Thank you. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. If you like the show, don't forget, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave us a comment. As always, stay gritty.